right? The student wants to do something, the student needs or maybe has a problem, and this employee is supposed to help the student figure out the problem, right? Solve the problem or give the student advice, and that's what we have. And remember that you should focus more on understanding rather than note-taking. Let's start looking at some examples. Do you guys have any questions before we start practicing? Guys, so get ready to take notes.
And an employee.
Hi.
Good afternoon. Come on in.
Okay.
So, what can I help you with today?
Well, I want to join the bicycle club.
Joining clubs is a great thing to do. Unfortunately, the bicycle club currently has no events because the office is being renovated.
Oh, well, when is it going to be done?
The anticipated date of completion is next semester, though it could take as long as a year.
Wow, that's a long time. That's a bummer.
I do apologize.
It's not your fault, I guess. So are there other clubs I can join instead?
Absolutely. There are a wide variety of clubs throughout campus. Since you are interested in the bicycle club, I would recommend the hiking club or rock climbing club. They are popular options for students who are interested in exercising and meeting friends.
Those could be nice. It's too bad about the bicycle club, though. But yeah, those would work. How about the hiking club? When is it?
The hiking club meets Friday evenings.
That won't work then. I have biology class on Friday night. I didn't think finding a club would be this hard.
Don't get discouraged. It's all about finding the right fit. In the future, the bicycle club's office will be finished and they will start up again. You won't always have biology on Friday nights either. What about the rock climbing club?
I do really like climbing. When is that one?
Let's see. The rock climbing club meets Tuesday afternoons.
Okay, yeah. I don't have any class or anything going on then.
So you'd like to join the rock climbing club?
Yes, please.
All right. So the process isn't too complicated. You just have to pay the dues, which aren't very large, and then fill out your contact information and attend the next meeting.
Is it going to be their first ever meeting? Like, will I be the person that nobody knows?
It is not their first meeting, but you really don't need to worry. The whole point of clubs is that they're social and welcoming to new people. I'm sure you'll fit right in.
That's easy to say, but what if I don't?
Well, thinking negatively like that will only hurt your chances. So first, try to stay positive. They will probably ask you to introduce yourself so they can get to know you a little bit, and you'll be good from there.
Stuff like that makes me nervous.
It's perfectly normal to be nervous. But remember, everybody there was the new person at some point. But if for some reason it doesn't work out for you, you can always come back to me. There are plenty of clubs for all kinds of people. And like I said before, you may be able to join the hiking or bicycle club in the future.
But I should still try this now?
Of course, there are no guarantees, and one of the major aspects of college is going out and trying new things.
Okay, guys. So now let's start answering the questions. So the first one says, why does the student go to speak to the consultant?
Option A.
Option A, to join the bicycle club. Okay, do you guys agree?
Yes.
Yes, exactly. She wanted to join the bicycle club. They do talk, I mean, she did get information about other activities, although not recreational, but the reason why she went to speak to the consultant was to join this club. Now the second says, listen again to part of the conversation, then answer the following question.
All right, so the process isn't too complicated. You just have to pay the dues, which aren't very large, and then fill out your contact information and attend the next meeting.
Is it going to be their first ever meeting? Like, will I be that strange new person that nobody knows?
What is the student attempting to express?
The letter B means the student is nervous.
Okay, the student is nervous. Do you all agree? Yes, right.
Yes.
Even she has stuff like that makes me nervous. And she doesn't want to be the new person because she's nervous about meeting other people, about not fitting in, maybe. Now the third says, why can the student join the bicycle club?
The first one is if it isn't currently accepting new members.
Okay, do you guys agree?
Option B means.
There's no bicycle club, all right?
B.
Are you sure? C?
Or could be the letter A. The letter D means the bicycle club's office is being renovated.
Okay, yeah, we agree then. That's correct. The bicycle club's office is being renovated, right? The office is being renovated. It's not that they don't want to accept new members or that there's no bicycle club, but their office is being renovated. Now, what kinds of clubs are similar to the bicycle club?
Letter C means outdoor activities clubs like hiking or rock climbing.
Okay, do you guys agree?
Yes.
Yes, option C.
All right, perfect. Which of the following is not a benefit of joining the rock climbing club?
Option D.
Yes, I agree. Option D.
Okay, good. Yes, getting better grades is not a benefit. The other ones are mentioned, right? So let's see. Okay. So the first one is correct, to join the bicycle club, right? She says, well, I want to join the bicycle club. It's a guest purpose question, the main idea type, right? The one that you get in the beginning. The second one is correct. The student is nervous. She expresses that she's nervous, right? The student says, will I be that strange person that nobody knows? Stuff like that makes me nervous. So yes, she is totally nervous. The third is correct as well. Their office is being renovated. The consultant says, join clubs is a great thing to do. Unfortunately, the bicycle club currently has no events because the office is being renovated. Exactly. There's clubs that are similar to the bicycle club is outdoor activities like hiking or rock climbing. And the consultant says, since you were interested in the bicycle club, I would recommend the hiking or rock climbing club. They're popular options for students who are interested in exercising and meeting friends. Right, so outdoor activities like hiking and rock climbing. And finally, what is not a benefit? Getting better grades is not a benefit. So the consultant says the whole point of clubs is that they are social and welcoming to new people. One of the major aspects of college is going out and trying new things, right? People who enjoy exercising. So the only one that is not mentioned is option D, getting better grades. Exactly, guys, well done. That's one of the first practice that we did. Pretty easy one, right? Okay, guys, do you have any questions so far?
Seems okay.
Okay, guys, then let's continue. Let's do other sets of practice. Okay. Okay, guys, so I'm going to play the lecture. Please get ready to take notes. I'm sorry, the listening, the conversation.
Listen to a conversation between a student and the professor of her theater class.
So, Professor Baker, about our next assignment you talked about in class.
Yes, this time you'll be in groups of 3. Each of you will have a chance to direct the other 2 in a short scene from a play you've chosen yourself.
Right. And, well, I've been reading about story theater and...
Ah, story theater? Tell me about what you've read.
Well, it's a form of theater where folk or fairy tales are acted out. It was introduced by the director Paul Sills in the 1960s. In Sills's approach, an actor both narrates and acts out a tale. So, like someone will appear on stage, and then they'll start narrating a tale about, say, a king. And then the same person will immediately switch to and start acting out the role of the king, with no props or scenery.
Sills. You know, I actually saw his first story theater production in 1968. He did the fairy tale The Blue Light.
Really? So whatever gave him the idea to produce that?
Well, as you know, back in the late 1960s, lots of people in the United States were disillusioned with the government. Sills was grappling with how to produce theater that was relevant in such times. Then he happened to read The Blue Light, and he realized it had just the message he wanted. See, in the story, a man who's lost all hope as a result of the unfortunate events in his life completely turns his life around with the help of a magical blue light. So, the blue light in the story symbolizes a way out of seemingly unsolvable human problems. And for Sills, that light symbolized an answer to the political turmoil in the U.S.
But weren't you, audiences bothered that the actors were performing on a bare stage?
Well, story theater is a departure from traditional dramatic theater with its realistic, elaborate props and scenery, but Sills could make us see, say, a big tall mountain through the facial expressions and body movements of the actors and their telling of the story. We were all swept up, energized by such an innovative approach to theater, even if one or two of the critics weren't as enthusiastic.
Cool. So, ask, I'd love to try doing story theater for my project, instead of just a scene from a traditional play.
That's possible. A short tale can be about the same length as a single scene. Which fairy tale would you do?
Actually, Stevenson, you know, he produces plays based on folk tales as well. Maybe I could direct one of those.
Okay, yes, Rex Stevenson. Now, Stevenson's style of story theater is a little different from Sills's. He'll use simple props. A chair will represent a mountain, but the significant difference is with the narrator. The narrator will play only that role.
Yeah, so in this case, the conversation was a little bit more difficult, I would say, because they were discussing technical things, right, about an assignment, obviously related to an assignment, but it was more technical than the previous one. So the first one.
The professor.
Why does the student go to see the professor? The typical main aim. I'm sorry, Rosario, you said letter B?
Yes, B.
All right. Do you guys agree?
Yes, letter B.
Exactly, right? She wanted to do, I think, story scenery. So yes, option B. Now let's click on next. I think okay. So yes, it's correct. Option B is the correct choice. It's in Chinese, but I think it means it. Now the second says, why does the professor discuss the political environment in the United States in the 1960s? What do you guys think? So if you don't know, then you have to guess, right? Take an educated guess. Try to select the one that you think makes more sense. Or if you really don't know anything, just choose whatever you want. But you need to choose one. So what do you think?
Letter B.
Letter B, to suggest that the woman do additional research. Okay, maybe, I don't know. Anyone else? I think letter B, I don't know, I would D, to be honest, but let's see. So the correct option is D, to explain Sill's inspiration for his first story theater production. So first of all, they started talking about the story theater. So the reason why the professor talked about the United States or the political environment in the US in the 1960s needs to be related to story theater, right? It's not about folk or fairy tales. They talked about that later. They started talking about fairy tales later. And the professor is not asking the student or suggesting the student to do additional research. The professor is just explaining why these story theaters were, or what these story theories were based on, right? So option D. Our next question says, according to the professor, what does the blue light in the fairy tale called the blue light represent?
Letter B. Letter B. Conflict between two opposing forces.
Okay, great. Let's see. Actually, no, it's C. It's the solution to the complex problems. Blue light. I think it was like the resolution for those conflicts that were happening in that period, right? They mentioned before in the US. So it's C, a solution to complex problems. Now our next question says, what is the professor's opinion about sales production of the blue light?
The option
Could
C.
be the letter D.
Letter C. The theme is more relevant today than it was in the 1960s. You guys sure? Any other opinion?
For me, it's B.
B, okay. That the use of some props would have enhanced the performance.
Letter D.
Oh, letter.
No,
Okay, he believes that it was less effective stylistically than some of Stevenson's plays. I don't know, to be honest. I would say maybe A, because I don't think that he compares. But let's see. So yes, option A. He thinks that it was an inventive and powerful performance. One very common trap in these questions, both in the reading and listening, is false comparisons. So look at how option C and option D make false comparisons, right? The theme is even more relevant today than it was in the 1960s. He believes that it was less effective than some of the Stevenson's plays. But does the professor actually compare both plays? I don't think he does he? He doesn't compare both plays, and he doesn't compare the context now from the context before. It doesn't make any comparisons. He just says that it was something very innovative, very, very new, and very powerful as well. So careful with these traps, with false comparisons. Now our next question says, according to the professor, what is the most important difference between the story theater? What would you say here?
Letter A.
Letter A, okay. Do you guys agree? So let's see, we're going to see. So yes, that's correct. The actor who plays the role of the narrator plays only that role in Stevenson's productions. I think in Seal's productions, okay, it was interesting, a little bit different and a little bit more difficult as well. But it's important to practice and to be prepared for everything. What do you guys think so far?
it really depends on what it's the topic, right, of the lesson.
I'm sorry, Rosario, I can't hear you very well.
Now, Miss?
Yes, I can hear you better now.
Okay. I was saying that it really depends on what is the topic of the listening, because I didn't know really most of the theater topics, and it was most difficult for me to connect the ideas to all of the comparison and the idea of what is the professor taught.
Yes, to be honest, it does depend. And the truth is that it could be anything. Sometimes it's very simple because the student is not talking to a professor, so they're not going to start talking about like those sort of technical details. But in other, like in this one, in which the professor and the student are having the conversation, then yes, it could be a topic related to anything really. Like in this case, it was theater, right? But there could be others that are history or literature. So it could be like the one that we did yesterday that was about anthropology, ethnology. So it depends. It depends on the topic.
Miss, you told us that this audio is more difficult. It's only because the thematic, or it's like in the TOEFL test we will have some, I don't know, one listening easy and the other listening it's more hard or something like that.
Yes, the levels of difficulty, and there have been some complaints about that. They are not always the same. So there's a chance that you have one that's maybe more difficult than the other. You maybe longer than the other as well. Same thing in the reading. So yes, some of them will be harder, some of them will be easier. And also it depends on when you take the test and just your luck, because sometimes you get easy questions and sometimes you get harder questions. So the difficulty levels may be different, but the structure is always going to be the same. So it's better to practice listening to different academic content, because that's usually the hardest part, so that you get used to that. You get used to hearing a lot of academic content just in case you have it, because either way in the lectures we'll have a lot of academic content.
Okay, Miss, thanks.
Yes, of course. Any other question? Okay, guys, so let's continue listening. I'm going to play this conversation here.
Everything all right, Carla?
Yes, I just wanted to talk to you about the assignment that's due on Monday.
I can't give you an extension if that's what you want.
No, it's not that. I wanted to ask you about the word limit. At the moment, I'm way over it, but I found so many useful sources that I don't really want to cut anything out.
Well, it's meant as a guide rather than a hard and fast rule. It's not as if I'll stop marking as soon as I reach the word limit. But I don't really want you to go way over it either. 2,800 is the absolute maximum, I'd say.
Wow, that's still going to be hard.
Well, you can use this opportunity to try to make your writing more succinct. It's good exercise in writing technique. Think about which of the writer's points you really want to draw attention to and discard any information that isn't really relevant to your premise.
Okay, I'll try that.
Remember, you can always refer to two or more sources in the same paragraph, in the same sentence even.
What do you mean?
If one of your citations seems to complement what the other says, you can refer to them at the same time. You can do that when they contradict each other, too. It's a perfectly acceptable way of constructing a paragraph.
I get you. Well, I'd better go. I've got a lot to do before Monday.
Hang on, Carla. While you're here, I wanted to mention something to you.
What's that?
Have you heard about the Harvey Graduate Business Program?
No.
It's a special scheme funded by the Harvey Group, the financial place in town.
Yeah, I know it.
Well, they have a special program. It's very exclusive. They only take on 3 people a year. Each of the major colleges in the state is invited to put forward a maximum of 5 students a year for consideration. And we only pick out the very best, really high grades. I wondered if you'd be interested in trying out for it. After all, you've been doing well in all your modules.
Wow, it sounds like an honor to be considered. I guess all those late nights working on assignments were worth it. What does the program give you?
Well, you get work and training at the Harvard Group for a year, and then they will fund your master's course a year down the line. I'm right that you're interested in doing a master's course, aren't I?
Yes, I was considering doing something management-based.
Well, I think they discuss with you what master's course would be best for you and them, depending on the department you're working on. So you may be obliged to do the course they want you to do, but it's bound to be useful. Then they employ you for another year. And after that, you can choose to stay with the company or move on somewhere else.
Harvey's a prestigious company. I couldn't see myself moving on fast if I managed to get my foot in the door.
Indeed. Well, is it something that might appeal to you?
Maybe. I was hoping to go. What do I have to do to apply? Do I need a resume? I was working on mine just the other night.
Well, there's a rather lengthy application form to fill out, so I don't think a resume is needed. Then, if you get through the first stage, you'll have to do a presentation. If they like you, they'll invite you back for an interview. It's pretty tough, as you can imagine, but I wouldn't suggest it to you if I didn't think you could do it. I mean, you've done some great presentations in class, and you've had the experience of...
No. I haven't done that.
Haven't you? I thought you did something selling perfumes.
That's Miranda.
Oh, is it? Well, sorry about that. My mistake. But you've still had experience working in a business, haven't you?
Yeah, I've worked in my dad's office in the vacations.
Well, that's very valuable. And I'm sure of that. Well, if you're interested in the program, come out and I'll give you the details. After 4 is best for me.
Thanks.
Everything all right?
Okay, guys, so it was a little bit longer, but I think the content was easier to understand. And they talked about 2 different things, right? She went to see this person, this professor, for something, and then he called her up for something else, right? And they started discussing something else. So let's take a look at the questions. First question says, Carla wants to talk to the professor because it's the main idea.
The letter C means she's worried that her assignment's too long.
Letter D for me.
She doesn't know how many sources she should refer to, all right? Anybody else?
Option C.
Option C. Okay. It's option C. Option C. Because she goes and talks to the professor and she says, do you have a minute? It's about the assignment. And he's like, well, I can't give you attention. And it's not that. I'm worried that it's too long, right? I'm worried about the word count, the number of words. I think she's way over the word count. So she has written more words than she should have. And he's giving him advice. He's giving her advice on how to make it shorter. So yes, it's because question says, read the 6 sentences below. Which 2 does the professor advise Carla to do? What do you think? We have options 1 and 3, 2 and 4, 5 and 6, 3 and 4, or 1 and 6. Which 2 do you guys think?
One and 6.
Okay.
Yes, Miss, I think that it's the same. 1 and 6.
1 and 6. Make your writing more concise. Yes, I do agree because the professor says you succinct, which is a synonym of concise, right? Writing the same but in fewer words. And number 6 says ensure that there is a reference to a source in every sentence. Are you guys sure? I mean, I do remember that they talk a lot about sources, but don't you think she writes in every sentence? Wouldn't that writing longer? What the professor says?
Yeah, maybe 1 and 3.
Yes, right, maybe 1 and 3. Because what they say, or what the professor says, is that if two paragraphs like contradict, or if two paragraphs complement each other, she could cite them in the same, right? In the same paragraph. So that way it's not going to be two paragraphs. So she can focus on comparing and contrasting information, comparing and contrasting, so that she uses the same source for both. So 1 and 3 in this case. Correct. Now the third question says, the Harvard Graduate Business Program provides young people with, detailed question.
Could be the letter A, Miss, a funded master's course of their choice.
Okay. Do you guys agree? I mean, I do agree that this business program gives young people a funded master's course, but I don't think it's of their choice. I think they actually can choose what master's course. I think it's the program, the Harvard program, that chooses for the students, right? So they don't get to choose what course to do. So this would be incorrect information, because the professor says, well, I think if we can look at the transcript, it's here. The professor says, I think they discuss with you what master's course would be best for you and them, depending on the department you're working in. So you may be obliged to do the course that they want you to do, right? They make you do the course that it's best for them, for you and them, right? Depending on the department you're working on, be obliged to do the course that you want, that the Harvard group wants the students to do, right? So it's not of their choice. What is it then?
Letter C.
Letter C? Yes, I think it's letter C as well. Working various departments, although I'm not sure because it's just one department, right? Depending on the department.
Yes, it's a little confused because they mentioned another year. No, I don't really sure it's mentioned 2 years.
Okay. So I think in total it's 2 years. It's 1 year the master's course, and then right? But it's not various departments.
Oh, okay.
Right? Because it's a local group. She wanted to go abroad, but this is overseas. So, yes, I think it's a total of 2 years employment. Let's see, let's check the transcript. So they say, okay. They say you get work and training at the Harvard Group. Will find you your master's course a year down the line. And then they say, I think, depending, then they employ you for another year, right? In a company or move on somewhere else. So it's 1 year of employment, and then they find you the master course alone in the same year, and finally they employ you for another year. So it's a total of 2 years of employment, right? Now the fourth question says, listen to Carla. I'm going to play this part again. I think it's somewhere here.
Or sources in the After all, you've been doing
Okay, so the question says, listen to Carla.
Move on somewhere else.
Harvey's a prestigious company. I couldn't see myself moving on fast if I managed to get my foot in the door.
Indeed. Somewhere else.
Harvey's a prestigious company. I couldn't see myself moving on fast if I managed to get my foot in the door.
Indeed. Well, is it something that might appeal to you?
Maybe.
So the question is, what does Carla mean when she says Harvey's a prestigious company? I couldn't see myself moving on fast if I managed to get my foot in the door. What does she mean by that? What do you guys think?
Letter A.
Letter A, okay. For these type of questions, we have to interpret what they say, right?
Option C.
Okay. If I got a job at Harvey's, I wouldn't want to leave the company for some time. Maybe. Yes, I think so. Because, I mean, first of all, Carla is saying something positive about Harvey, right? She says it's a prestigious company. So we know that she is interested. Then she says, I couldn't see myself moving on in the door. So this isn't a literal expression. It's not like if she manages to get inside, or to step on, that's not what she means, right? What she means is if I manage to get accepted, if I manage to get in, if she manages to get in, if she makes it, then she couldn't see herself moving on fast. So when she says moving on, that basically means move on somewhere else, right? Move on and do a different thing or leave the company. So if she manages to get the job, she wouldn't want, or she doesn't think that she's gonna want to move on very quickly. Now, first of all, this is a conditional sentence, right? She says if, so that means that this is open to the possibility that it could happen or it couldn't. We don't know and she doesn't know, right? If I manage to get in. So we can eliminate already options A and D because in option A, they say after I worked at Harvey's, right? And it's not the same saying after I worked at Harvey's than if I work at Harvey's, right? Or if I get accepted. It's entirely different. If I get to work, if I get in, it's not the same as after I worked at Harvey's, right? Because she's not get a job in another company, but she's saying that Harvey is the prestigious company. And same thing goes for option D. Once I've got a job, it's like she's sure, and she's not sure that she's gonna get it, right? That's why she uses the conditional if. So, and also she's not talking about promotions, right? Getting promoted. So it has to be B or C, and the other one that contains the correct information needs to be option C. If I got a job at Harvey's, I wouldn't want to leave the company, to move on for some time fast, right? So she would want to stay in this prestigious company. Okay, guys? So there, it's about interpreting things, but without changing the meaning, right? So also understand the tone, understand how she feels about things, right? She is happy about this opportunity. She's excited. She wants to take it. She wants to apply, right? So it's not like she wants to start working somewhere else or that she wants to be promoted already. She's not talking about that, right? She's saying something positive about Harvey. Finally, we have question 5, another detailed question that says, which one of these does Carla not need to do? What do you think?
The letter A, Miss, sending a resume.
Yes, letter A.
Yes, exactly. She has to give a presentation, complete an application form, but she asks, says, I don't think they require that because the application form contains all of that information. So yes, she doesn't need to send in a resume. Okay, guys, well done, great. The most difficult ones could be some of the detailed questions, right? Maybe pay more attention to the details. Questions so far before we continue?
Miss, what was the meaning of overseas?
Overseas means abroad, el extranjero.
What, sorry?
It means abroad, en el extranjero.
Ah, okay. Thanks, Miss.
Yes, any other questions? Okay, so let's do this one very quickly. I'm going to play the conversation.
For you.
We need some help finding accommodation for the semester.
You've left it a bit late, haven't you? You'll be lucky to find anything.
Yeah, well, I had a room lined up with someone in town, but I rang her yesterday and it turns out she's given the room to someone else.
Didn't you pay a deposit?
No, I didn't think I needed to. We had a sort of informal agreement.
Very informal by the sound of it. Well, that'll teach you for next time, won't it? Well, we won't have a lot available. I have to say we definitely don't have any rooms available in the student dorms. I mean, there are always a few no-shows, but we won't know about that for another couple of weeks, and presumably you'll need a place to stay in the meantime.
Yeah, I mean, my parents, we're staying in a motel just out of town, but they'll be leaving in a couple of days.
Well, you could also then take up any free spaces in the dorms when we know about them.
That might be a problem. I mean, I don't have my own transport, so it'll be hard for me to get on and off campus.
Well, that's likely to be an issue whatever you do. You won't find anywhere on campus now.
I suppose I could sleep on a friend's floor for a couple of weeks.
Now, you know that's against college rules, don't you?
Yes, I guess.
Well, it seems to me you have two options. You can either find a motel or a guest house somewhere closer to the campus where you can stay a couple of weeks until we know about any students who don't show up this term. Mind you, they're going to be pretty full now, what with all the students arriving. And there are a lot of people on the waiting list, so we can't guarantee you a dorm. You may be better off looking for some private accommodation in town, you know, renting a room in a private house or sharing a flat with other students.
Yeah, that might be best. Do you have a list of places here?
Well, we got a folder over there of people in town with rooms available. You can look through it and jot down some numbers. Bear in mind, though, that we've had a lot coming in and taking a look at it. And we can't keep track of it. You'll have to do some...
Hey?
Of course, you can always look on the student body website. There's an accommodation page there, too, isn't there?
Is there?
Yeah, but again, this time of year, things are really getting snapped up all the time. It's hard to keep tabs on what's still out there.
Okay, well, thanks for your help. Can I put my name on that waiting list anyway, in case I don't find anywhere else?
Sure. Write your details on this form, and we'll get in touch if anything comes up.
Thanks.
Okay, guys. So let's take a look at the questions. The first one says, why is the student looking for accommodation now?
Option A.
Yes, Miss.
Yeah, right, because the accommodation she booked was, I think, with a friend, and the friend gave the room to somebody else. So it's no longer available. Somebody else has taken that accommodation. Now the second one says, listen to this part of the conversation again. The student says, no, I didn't think I needed to. We had sort of an informal agreement. And the accommodation officer says, very informal by the sounds of it. Well, that'll teach you for next time. Want it? What does the man imply when he says, well, that'll teach you for next time? Want it? What does he imply?
He wants to give the students some advice. The C.
Okay, maybe. Do you all agree?
Yes.
Could be. I'm not totally sure because it's not. I think the man is a little bit surprised in a way. And I don't know. Let's see. He wants to give the students some advice. No, because advice will be, well, now you know what to do, or now you know, or you've learned to be careful, more careful next time, right? So, what can it be then?
Probably the letter A. He thinks the student was foolish.
Exactly, because he thinks that the student should have known better, that the student should have, because he's like, didn't you pay a deposit? And then he's like, well, very formal. That'll teach you for next time. So he thinks that the student made a mistake by not having a formal agreement so that she doesn't go through this, right? He thinks that she made a mistake. Now, why doesn't the student want to remain where she's staying now?
It's too far from the college campus.
Do you agree?
Yes.
Yes.
I think she's staying with her parents, but it's a motel that's far from. Says what sort of accommodation?
Me? What do you say?
The fourth question says, what sort of accommodation may the man be able to offer her in a couple of weeks?
Option A.
Yes,
Okay.
miss.
Great, exactly. So he says that they could wait to see if somebody has already booked the dorms doesn't show up. So in a couple of weeks, they will know if there's anybody that is turning down their dorms, right? And also it makes sense, right? Because this is the accommodation officer from the university. So the only type of accommodation that he can offer her definitely not be a student dorm. It's not like he has a motel or that he has any, or like that he can offer her a room in a private house or a shared student apartment, right? This is an apartment because that's private accommodation. That does not have anything that is regulated dorms. So that's the only type of accommodation that he can offer her, for sure. Now, question 5 says, what is the problem with the accommodation listed in the folder and on the website?
There is a waiting list for the accommodation list there.
I don't know. I think the waiting list is for the student dorms.
Maybe letter C.
Most accommodation was booked up long ago. I think, again, that's the same. So the problem with the student dorms is that there's a waiting list and most accommodation was booked up long ago. But there is not something else. I think they have compiled a list of rooms that are available from other students who are living in private accommodations in private houses that want to share the house, right? Or So it's a list of other places that are basically in red, right?
Later, it's got out of date very quickly.
Exactly, it goes out of date very quickly because what the accommodation officer says here in the end, they say, do you have a list of places here renting a room in a private house or? And they say, do you have a list of places here? And he says, yes, we've got this folder also on the website, right? But he says, bear in mind though that we had about 50 students a day for the past week coming in and taking a look at it. And we can't keep track of what's available and what's taken. You'll have to do some ringing around, right? So that means know if somebody has already taken those places. It goes out of date very quickly. It's not updated as to what's taken and what's available, right? Is that okay? Do you guys have any questions so far?
What's the meaning of foolish?
It comes from fool. Fool is somebody that like tontamente. Fool es un tonto, no? So the student didn't think. The student didn't think things through. So the student acted without thinking, basically, foolish. Any other question, guys?
What was the meaning of out of date? It's like a retrasado.
Yes, it's the opposite of up to date. Up to date or updated means actualizado, and desactualizado. So se desactualiza very quickly. It goes out of date.
Okay, thanks, Miss.
Yes, sure. Any other question? Okay, guys. So please, before you go, today we have 2 surveys actually to fill out. I'm sending you the first now. And once you guys are done with that, I'll send the other one too. So please don't go just yet. Okay, that was fast. I'm sending the other one as well. And tomorrow we'll start with lectures.
Thank you, Miss.
Bye-bye.